Now this may look like the automotive version of the Odd Couple, but hear me out. These two are actually more similar than you may think. They're both roughly the same size, they're both available with engines that have roughly the same power, and most importantly, they're both aiming to be in the premium part of the automotive segment. So not quite luxury, but also not quite mainstream, more in the middle. So how do they compare when they're head to head? Well, let's go for a drive and find out. Starting things off in the Mazda 3, I should give a little disclosure because this particular Mazda is the turbo version. So it's a little bit more, actually no, it's quite a bit more powerful than the 2-liter turbo engine that you can get in the Cooper S. This engine produces 250 horsepower and 320 pound-feet of torque on premium fuel. But if you do use regular fuel, then you'll still be getting quite a bit of power at 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque. A more comparable engine in this Mazda 3 to that Mini Cooper would be the naturally aspirated version of this 2.5-liter four-cylinder. That one produces 186 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque. I actually did a review of that particular car with that engine last year, and you can check it out up here if you want to. In the Mini Cooper S, you'll be getting a 2-liter turbocharged four-cylinder engine that produces 189 horsepower and 207 pound-feet of torque. Because that engine has a turbocharger, all the torque is down low in the RPM range, so you don't really need to rev it to really get going in everyday city driving situations. Whereas the naturally aspirated 2.5-liter in the Mazda 3, you do need to rev it a little bit to get the most out of the engine. But because it is naturally aspirated, throttle response is immediate. There's no waiting around for a turbocharger to spool up. In the Cooper S, the 0 to 100 km/h sprint takes around 6.5 seconds. With the naturally aspirated 2.5-liter engine, the Mazda 3 can do the 100 km/h sprint in just over 7 seconds. Add on the all-wheel drive system and that number is closer to 8 seconds. Not very sporty from a car that's motto used to be zoom zoom. But bring the turbocharged 2.5-liter engine back into the equation and the 0 to 100 km/h sprint gets done in just under 6 seconds. Now that's more like it. Interestingly, probably because of its light weight, the Mini Cooper S actually has better fuel economy numbers than even the naturally aspirated version of the Mazda 3. Never mind this turbo version. The 2022 Mini Cooper S is rated for 8.9 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 6.6 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. With the 2.5 naturally aspirated engine, the 2021 Mazda 3 hatch can achieve 9.2 liters per 100 kilometers in a city and 6.9 liters per 100 kilometers on a highway. With the turbo engine, those numbers jump to 10.1 liters per 100 kilometers and 7.5 liters per 100 kilometers respectively. During my time with the cars, I averaged 9.7 liters per 100 kilometers in the Mazda 3 and 8.4 liters per 100 kilometers in the Mini Cooper. One more thing I want to mention between these two engines and these cars is that the Mini Cooper S sounds a little bit better than the Mazda 3. It doesn't come with an aftermarket exhaust or anything like that, but it's just the way that the exhaust was tuned with this engine that makes it sound quite a bit better than the Mazda 3, both the turbo and the non-turbo engines. Having said that though, both engines in the Mazda 3 sound better than other mainstream four-cylinder engines like in the Civic, Sentra, Elantra, you name it. Shifting gears in the Mazda 3 is a 6-speed automatic transmission. While it only has 6 gears, Mazda has continuously refined this transmission to the point now where it's the best 6-speed automatic that you can get in the automotive market. In everyday driving situations, you pretty much don't even feel the shifts between the gears. And if you do want to have a bit of driving fun, the paddles are quick, the transmission is quick to respond to your inputs. It's just fantastic. I really like it. In the Cooper S, you get a 7-speed dual-clutch automatic with this 2-liter turbo engine. I have absolutely no complaints and nothing to nitpick about this transmission because it does its job very, very well. The shifts are nice and smooth when you're just driving around the city, and it's quick to react to your inputs if you decide to put your foot down or take over shifting duties with the paddle shifters. It also doesn't feel hesitant when you set off from a stop. As soon as you let go of the brake and onto the accelerator pedal, you just go. Thanks to its lightweight and short wheelbase, the Mini Cooper S is the more enjoyable driving car on twisty roads. It has a direct and responsive steering feel. It also firms up depending on the drive mode and provides just enough feedback through your fingertips. On the other hand, the 2021 Mazda 3 Sport is not as sporty as the Mini Cooper per se, but it is more sporty than something like the Honda Civic. Check out that video in the top right if you're interested. Steering weight is a bit lighter in the Mazda 3 than in the Mini. However, the steering response is just as quick, and body roll is well maintained thanks to the stiffer springs and retuned dampers of this turbo version of the 3. With the addition of the all-wheel drive system, the Mazda 3 feels neutral around corners. It can send up to 3 times more torque than previously allowed to the back wheels to improve off-the-line and corner exit traction. Of course, it's also a blanket of security when you're driving in not-so-ideal conditions. So for driving around a twisting and winding canyon or mountain road, I'd much rather be in the Mini Cooper S. However, for everyday comfort and livability and a little bit of driving enthusiasm, it's hard to beat the Mazda 3. The ride of the Cooper S is a little on the firm side. It's not completely unbearable for everyday driving, but you probably will want to avoid some deeper potholes or just some uneven manhole covers because you really do feel some of the shunts and bumps of the road. But this is a characteristic of Mini Coopers and also of vehicles that have short wheelbases, like this Cooper S. As for noises, well, when you put your foot down, you really do hear that exhaust, which is really nice sounding. But on highways and higher speeds actually, you do hear quite a bit more road noise than even the exhaust. On the other hand, the Mazda 3 has a much quieter cabin. Less of the engine's noise as well as road and wind noise intrude inside, thus making the 3 hatchback a more livable compact car. As well, the ride is more supple over bumps than it is in the Mini Cooper. The interior of the Mazda 3 is a very nice place to be in. You can instantly tell that Mazda wants to be a little bit more upscale in the market compared to where they were even 10 years ago. There's lashings of leather everywhere on the dashboard, door panels, center console, obviously the seats, and it's really nice and soft leather. There is, of course, some hard plastics like on the center console and on the door panels, but it's relegated mostly to the lower portions of the cabin, areas that you would normally not even touch. I also love the tactile feel of all the buttons and knobs. It, again, elevates the Mazda 3 to be a bit more upscale in the market compared to where they were 10 years ago, like I said. In terms of interior space in the Mazda 3, it has a little bit less headroom than the Mini Cooper, but it has more legroom both in the front and in the back. So my 6'4" height has absolutely no issue sitting up here in the front. Plenty of legroom, and I did have to lower the seat all the way to the bottom so I can have more headroom, but even so, hair is not brushing up against the headliner. Apart from that, this is a very nice place to be in, like I said, and honestly, I would prefer to sit on long road trips in this rather than the Mini Cooper. Anyway, let's go check out the back seats. Like I said, the Mazda 3 has more legroom than the Mini Cooper, but that's not really saying much sitting behind my driving position. Sure, it's not as painful in the back of the 3 than it is in the Mini, but I don't want to sit back there. Also, you'd need to detach my head from my torso like a Lego person because headroom is pitiful. Sitting inside the Mini Cooper S, there is plenty of space for someone of my height at 6'4". I got enough headroom, plenty of legroom, and really good visibility all around. And one thing that I really like about Mini Coopers are the toggle switches down here as well as up here, especially these ones up here. They make it feel like you're in a cockpit of a plane. As for materials inside the Mini Cooper, they're not quite as nice as the ones in the Mazda 3. I mean, I do like the quilted leather on the seats as well as the soft leather on the steering wheel, but that's pretty much all you get for leather. There's piano black plastic on the dashboard. This is soft plastic here, as well as here on the door panels. And there are hard plastics on the center console, as well as the door panels, the lower portion of the door panels. But overall, it's just not as pleasant of a place as the interior of the Mazda 3. Other than that, it's an okay place to be in. But when you're paying around $43,000 Canadian, like how this particular demo vehicle is equipped, some of these materials make it look quite cheap, especially when you compare it against the Mazda 3. But if you don't spec up a Mini Cooper, like how this one is, then I'm actually okay with the materials that you get. Anyway, let's go check out the back. Surprise, surprise, it's even worse to sit behind myself in the Mini Cooper. I mean, just look at me. I haven't struggled this much since I tried to sit in the back seats of the Chevy Spark. But at least headroom is a bit better than in the Mazda 3 hatch. Trunk space is a similar story, with the Mazda 3 providing more than the Mini. The Cooper S has just 278 liters of cargo space behind the back seats, with that number increasing to 941 liters with the rear seats folded. There is, however, a bit of storage underneath the trunk floor of the Mini Cooper. In the Mazda, you get 569 liters with the seats up and 1,334 liters with the seats down. The Mini Cooper starts at $25,790 Canadian, with this Cooper S model starting at $30,000 Canadian. In Canada, with the 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine, the Mazda 3 Sport starts at $24,450 Canadian. With the turbo engine, it starts at $34,150 Canadian. So quite similar starting prices between the base models. But all of that changes at the other end of the spectrum. A fully loaded 2022 Mini Cooper S will cost you $44,830 Canadian, while a fully loaded 2021 Mazda 3 Sport will cost you $36,300 Canadian. That's an $8,500 difference. Of course, for that money, both of these cars come very similarly equipped. They both have satellite navigation, head-up displays, heated seats, heated steering wheels, advanced driver and safety aids, rear parking sensors, sunroofs, and so on. But there are some differences. The Mini has 2 sunroofs, though only one of them can actually be opened. It can be equipped with smart parking that will automatically park the car once a spot is detected, and is available with adaptive dampers. The Mazda can be equipped with rear automatic braking for when you park. It also has surround view cameras and comes standard with blind spot sensors, at least here in Canada, but the Mini doesn't have them at all. So of the two, which one is better? That depends on what you're looking for from a premium compact car. The 2022 Mini Cooper S provides a more thrilling driving experience from the way it goes around corners to how it sounds. It also still maintains the essence of a mini vehicle, which a lot of people still like. The Mazda 3 Sport, on the other hand, is a car for those that want the comfort, the peace, and the serenity with some sporty driving characteristics. Sure, the Mazda 3 is not as unique as the Mini Cooper. They're pretty much at every corner here in Vancouver, like a Starbucks. But it does everything that you want it to do at a lower price. If you want to know more about either of these vehicles, I wrote a comparison review of them over on my website. You can find the links in the video description. And as always, I will see you in the next car or truck, or most likely it'll be an SUV. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe, and see you in the next video.